Show me the token.
Oh, Jerry, no, like some exit liquidity chump. Say like you're dating the damn system.
Yeah, show me the token.
Louder like a DJ ape in heat.
Show me the token.
Yes. Louder.
Show me the token.
That's it, Jerry. Come on.
Show me the token.
But let's check if you're really ready.
Show me the token.
Do you love buybacks? I love buybacks.
Show me the token.
And I love America.
I love America.
Who's your motherfucker, Jerry? You my motherfucker. What you gonna do, Jerry?
Show me the token.
Congrats, Jerry. Now go get your OGN.
Back in my day, we didn't have buybacks, we had war bonds. Now I just stake my OGN and let the DAO fight the wars for me. The OGN DAO has started buybacks, and with every purchase, I get a share of the rewards. Now I get to go to Denny's 5 times per week, but I still only tip 10%. God bless that little buyback bot.
Tipping 10% with all that buyback yield? You're going to hell, Dolores.
Hey everybody, happy Friday. Welcome back to Alpha Access. We got another banger show coming up for you guys. We're going to start with some OGN updates, go into some protocol integrations, take a look at Origin Analytics, and then we're going to bring up Ripe DAO. We have the CEO Mick with us today. I'll bring him up in just a few minutes, talk about what they're building and how Origin's going to get integrated with it. So stay tuned, guys. I'm going to share my screen and we're going to jump right into it. All right, so we're going to start off with some OGN updates as we typically do on Alpha Access. So if you guys want to follow along or check back in later on progress, the URL I'm at right now is originprotocol.com/OGN. You get a lot of different metrics on Origin token. We're starting off here at the top with the percent staked and our staking rewards. So staking rewards have remained strong at nearly 50% APY. If you guys are new to Origin, these staking rewards are actually completely funded by protocol buybacks. So we started a protocol buyback campaign at the beginning of July to fund staking rewards. So we're going to take a look through the progress there. But as you can see, the percent staked is ticking up. So we're at about 38% of the circulating supply currently staked, and we've gotten some new locks this week, which is really nice to see. And just want to highlight here, like I said, this nearly 50% staking APYs all coming from buybacks. Usually when you see staking rewards that high, you're getting some token emissions, you're getting deflated some, not here, not with Origin tokens. So really cool to see really strong staking APYs completely funded by the protocol fees that Origin is generating. So let's scroll down, take a look at some different token metrics. Not really going to cover these token metrics here because you can see these on CoinMarketCap, CoinGecko. Not really super unique data, but it is here for you to view if you want to check it out. Shows you the unique wallet, circulating supply, OGN's price and market cap. But what's a bit more interesting is our buyback campaign. And these are some unique stats that you can get on originprotocol.com/OGN. So as you can see, we've surpassed 24 million OGN bought back in total so far. So some really strong numbers. That represents over 3.5% of the circulating supply already bought back. Hoping, in 6 to 12 months from now, we get that up to double digits. We do have quite a lot of protocol fees going back to buy OGN, as well as some DAO assets. So those proposals passed, like I said, at the beginning of July. You can check out our governance forum to get the full scoop on that, but they're in full force now. Let's check it out. First in USD value over the past 30 days, we had about $2 million of OGN bought back on August 7th. And we're up to almost 2.4 million. So over the past month, about $400,000 of added buy pressure has happened through buybacks. And let's check out the 7 days. So just over this past week, about $200,000 of OGN buybacks occurred. So really good to see. Annualized buybacks are at 84 million. So that's about 4x what we're currently at. So that would bring us to double digits in terms of the percentage of circulating supply bought back. So really looking forward to following along here. If we zoom out even more to 6 months, you can see we really started ticking up over the past few months when this buyback campaign started. So back in the day, we did buybacks with 50% of fees from OETH and OUSD. And then with these proposals, that changed. So all of Origin products contribute to buybacks, and it's 100% of protocol fees. So we saw a big uptick right at the end of June into the beginning of July, and that's continued pretty strongly over the last few months. So let's see what else we can take a look at here. Protocol revenue, obviously this is very important as these are the fees going back to buyback OGN. Let's check out in USD terms, $2 million over the past 30 days. And what's kind of cool is you can see it gets broken down into what products are generating the most fees for OGN. And as you can see, the big revenue drivers are OETH and Super OETH. These are two of our flagship products. Both have over $100 million of TVL. OETH is our liquid staking token on Ethereum. And then Super OETH is our liquid staking token on Base, which uses OETH as collateral and then earns additional yield through chain-specific rewards. So we're seeing the typical liquid staking rate on OETH right around 3%, and then Super OETH gets boosted about 25 to 50%. We see yields usually around the 4 to 5% range on Super OETH. And then there's a bunch of other products that also contribute to revenue. You see the ARM sort of ticking up. That's the one in pink here, which we'll dive into on the analytics page here in a second. But a lot of different products currently contributing to Origin's protocol revenue. So if you guys want to get in on OGN, start earning staking rewards up to nearly 50% APY, you can head over to app.originprotocol.com and stake OGN. You can also buy it. It's on pretty much every centralized exchange. So Coinbase, Binance, whatever exchange you use, you should be able to get OGN on it. We also have a Uniswap pool, Curve pool, a lot of different on-chain options to also acquire OGN and stake it. One last point here is it's pretty interesting. The amount currently staked has been ticking up lately. We're at almost 38%, especially once the staking yield has increased. It was at, I think, like 20, 30% a month ago. Once we got close to this 50% range, we saw a lot of OGN starting to get locked, taken off the market. So as you can see, back in June, we had like 480 million OGN staked. Now we're up to 534 million. So we've had about 50 million OGN locked to earn rewards, and that number continues to tick up. This graph doesn't really show the full story because we actually had pretty high staking participation back in March, April, with 400 million already staked, but we're seeing a big increase lately with that 40 million new OGN staked. And we do have an alerts channel on Twitter. If you guys want to follow along with that, it automatically gives you guys updates whenever an OGN buyback occurs or a major stake occurs. That handle is OGN_alerts on Twitter. So you can get notified in real time on OGN buybacks and OGN stakes. Here are some of the exchanges that I mentioned if you guys want to go ahead and swap to OGN. So that is about it for OGN updates. I'm going to go over to Origin's analytics page at analytics.originprotocol.com and look over some protocol metrics. So as you can see, protocol revenue has been pretty strong lately, increasing since July. As you guys know, Ethereum has been on a tear lately, and a lot of Origin products are denominated in Ethereum. So that's really helped out not only our protocol revenue, but our TVL. And we're pacing at around $60,000 of protocol revenue per day. So looking pretty strong right now. Token supply at about 1.2 billion, TVL at about 320 million. So you can see analytics on each of our products here on the left-hand tab. If you guys want to dive deeper into any of Origin's products, you can follow along at analytics.originprotocol.com. The one I wanted to dive into before we get into a few integration updates is the staked ETH ARM. We've been gaining a lot of TVL on the staked ETH ARM. Over the past month or so, we were at $6.7 million of TVL. Now we're at $16 million of TVL. So we're seeing a lot more deposits. MEV Capital, which is a really big Ethereum allocator on mainnet and some other chains, has gotten into the ARM. And yields are starting to be a bit more consistent over the past few weeks because we did upgrade the ARM to earn yield through Morpho markets, specifically MEV Capital's Morpho market. So if you guys aren't familiar with the ARM, it earns yield by arbitraging staked ETH prices. So basically taking that off the market whenever staked ETH is under peg and then redeeming it one-to-one through Lido's withdrawal queues. So whenever staked ETH sees volatility, the ARM earns really good yield. So that's why you see some like really big spikes on this chart. On July 17th, the ARM earned 40% APY on the daily. And then again on August 5th, 36%. So we see some really big spikes whenever staked ETH sees volatility. So it's a pretty interesting, unique product. If you guys think that staked ETH is going to see some volatility, or it currently is, you can get into the ARM and then earn the spread from passively arbitraging staked ETH pricing. So really cool to see the growth on the staked ETH ARM. We've also seen some growth on the OS ARM, which is on Sonic, currently at right around $1 million right now deposited in the OS ARM. And this has a new market on Pendle as well. So that has been a driver for growth, both for the staked ETH ARM and the OS ARM. So if you guys want to dive into any of these products further, feel free to head to analytics.originprotocol.com. You can check out these different products, TVL metrics, revenue, pretty much everything you need to know is on our analytics page. And then lastly, before we bring up Ripe DAO to talk about what they're building, I just wanted to go through a few different updates that are on our timeline. So one new integration we got this week is privacy pools. So privacy pools added a wrapped OETH pool to their protocol. So if you guys are holding OETH and want some extra privacy, you can join in on the privacy pools. Obfuscates on-chain data so people don't pocket watch you, especially if you're holding a lot of OETH. Maybe you don't want that public, so you can use privacy pools to earn yield privately. Let's see what else. We got a rating for Origin, a pretty strong rating from Blue Chip, the same as DAI and a few other major stablecoins. So that's good to see. Origin takes security very seriously. We've had dozens of audits from top auditors like Open Zeppelin and Trail of Bits. So it's really nice to see that Blue Chip has now covered OUSD and gave us a nice strong rating up there with a lot of Blue Chip stablecoins. And then just one final update. This is also in our token holder update. So if you guys want to get updated on everything that happened in August at Origin, that is on our blog, originprotocol.com/blog. You can read our August 2025 token holder update. Covers pretty much everything that you need to know. But where is it? I just scrolled down a little too much here. I just wanted to cover OGN buybacks through August. So we had 5.4 million OGN bought back throughout last month. And we already covered the staking APY, so I won't get into that again. But those are the updates from this week. So let me take my screen off here, bring up RipeDAO, and then we'll start our conversation about what RipeDAO is building. Mick, welcome. Thank you for joining us.
What's up, Ryan? It's good to be with you. I'm a big fan of Origin. I'm a big fan of Yield. I love what you guys are doing.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks so much. And great to see we have over 300 people tuning in right now. People are coming out to the live stream. It's awesome to see.
Let's go. That's great. Do you guys do this every week?
We do. We just started like 3-4 weeks ago. So just getting started, but we've had great attendance and appreciate everyone here who's in the crowd.
Nice. I love it. We're excited to partner with you guys.
Yeah, absolutely. Us too. Do you want to start, give us an overview of what you do for Ripe Protocol and maybe a little bit about what Ripe is?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm the founder and CEO. And really my vision is, how do we take the magic of DeFi? How do we take the benefits of DeFi to everyone? And so a few years ago, we were working on a neobank, a fintech. It's called Hightop. And the idea was, let's build a simple app, a mobile app that allows people to get yield from the App Store. Basically, you download it from the App Store, backend integrate with DeFi, and we grew that to about 100 million assets under management. It was going well, and then the U.S. regulatory environment was just, as you know, was a little bit hostile. So we decided to pull back. But the vision has always been, how do we take the magic of DeFi, access to credit, access to savings tools, the ability to invest in any asset, how do we take that to everybody? So for the last couple of years, we started working on Ripe Protocol. And really the idea was, you should be able to borrow against any of your assets, whether it be crypto assets, whether it be tokenized real world assets, whether it be yield-bearing assets. You should be able to use all of these assets as collateral. And so for the last couple of years, we were working on that, and we just launched it a month ago. And so far, it's been a roller coaster. It's been kind of crazy. For a few weeks, we were just kind of slowly building it up, slow and steady growth. And then a few weeks ago, it caught fire. A lot of people started trading Ripe token, and then we just got a lot more attention. So right now, I think some of the metrics are, we have about 1 million. Let me just pull it up really fast. We have about 1.1 million in green supply. So we have a stable coin. I'll tell you how it works in a second. But we have about 5 million deposits, collateral assets. And then we have about 1.9 million in kind of the protocol owned liquidity, protocol treasury. And really the idea was, there are a lot of great protocols like Morpho and Euler that let you kind of get a single debt position against a single asset on the one hand. And then on the other hand, you have a lot of kind of money markets like Aave, Compound, Moonwell. But the issue with those is that they can only support kind of blue chip assets. And then the issue with kind of the isolated markets is that for borrowers, it's just not the best user experience where you have a different loan for all of your assets. And so we felt like there was a great opportunity to build a protocol that allowed more assets than just blue chip assets, but also allowed you to just get a single loan. It's just a better borrower experience if you could just get a single loan against all your assets. And so so isolated markets allow more riskier assets, but they don't allow just kind of a great user experience for the borrower. And so we felt like there was a great opportunity to kind of meet in the middle, where it's like a single loan against all your assets, but allow for more types of assets to be used as collateral, including yield-bearing assets like what you guys offer with Super OE. And so we built it, we launched it, and so far people are really excited to be able to borrow against their yield-bearing assets. I think we built it in a way that's going to be able to support tokenized assets, tokenized equities, all the exciting things happening with real-world assets. But a lot of that's still pretty new. A lot of that's still pretty kind of nascent. And so for now, we're really focused on yield-bearing assets, because that's not something that you can do in a lot of other protocols, the ability to borrow against a wide variety of yield-bearing assets. So for example, if you're lending on Morpho, you have a yield position on Morpho or Euler or Aave or Moonwell, you can deposit those yield-bearing positions in Ripe, and you can borrow against those assets, or Athena and others. And so that's really the idea, is capital efficiency. You should be able to use any of your assets as collateral and get a single loan against them. And we have a stable coin called Green, and Green is, it's pegged 1-to-1 to the dollar, and we've maintained a really strong peg over the last month. We have a curve pool. In fact, we've been slowly kind of rising up the rankings on the base. So we're deployed on base, and we've slowly been rising up the rankings on curve. And I've noticed that, like, man, there's this one pool that it's at the very top that's just like has an insane amount of liquidity, and it's your pool. It's the Super WETH pool on Curve. It has like 106 million. And so as we've just been rising up the rankings, I'm like, okay, eventually we're going to get to the top. But then I see your pool, it's like 100 million. I'm like, okay, that's going to take a while. But anyway, we've got good green liquidity. We have about 1.5 million in green liquidity. We continue to hit our debt limits. And so, yeah, the protocol is growing. I think it's resonating with people, the idea that one loan against your entire portfolio. And so that's kind of the idea. And right now we're just on base, and we're excited to partner with you guys so that your token holders, the Super OETH token holders, can deposit, use it as collateral, continue to earn yield, and borrow against it. So that's kind of the high level.
That's awesome. Glad to hear you guys have had some good growth over the past few weeks. That's always exciting. So is this a mobile first app, or is this more desktop facing? And are you still targeting the masses, maybe crypto adjacent, crypto curious people that may hold crypto on Coinbase or Robinhood? Or are you more focused now on crypto natives and those people that might be like farming yield in DeFi actively? Maybe they need liquidity from their positions, or maybe they're looking to loop their assets for yield bearing tokens.
Yeah, so Ripe protocol is the infrastructure. It's a DeFi protocol. That's for DeFi natives. That's for crypto people. But we are bringing back HighTop, the consumer app. That's the one that you could download from the App Store. That's the one that's taking DeFi to the masses. And Super OETH is actually going to be a perfect asset for that protocol because it's yield. And we think yield is one of the killer use cases, just bringing DeFi to the masses, kind of the ability to save and have a savings tool for people all over the world. And so HighTop is kind of meant for the retail audience. In fact, we're working on a lot of the fiat on-ramps right now where people don't need to send USDC or send ETH in. And so the vision of that app is really kind of the mass market. So hightop.com. But Ripe protocol is the kind of DeFi protocol that's going to be powering all the loans inside of HighTop. So anytime somebody wants to borrow against their Super OETH or against their yield-bearing USDC or against their Cardano or XRP, we're using a lot of Coinbase wrapped assets. So for retail, it's like Cardano and XRP. They want to borrow against those assets. All of that's powered by Ripe protocol. So yeah, HighTop is going to be about yield, the ability to borrow against those assets, and then of course just simple investing and swapping and buying assets. But one of the cool things about HighTop is we have an AI agent that's kind of optimizing yields depending on kind of what's happening in the market, especially for things like USDC, where it's like there's all sorts of different Euler, Morpho, Aave, et cetera, et cetera. A lot of cool things happening, the ability to earn yield. And so we have an AI agent that's just kind of automatically rebalancing these assets so that people can get the highest yield. So, but with Super OETH specifically, like for people who hold it, they can go to ripe.finance. They can deposit it as collateral and then borrow against it. If you want, I can do a quick demo here. Let me see if I can share my screen.
Yeah, let's do it. You should be able to. Down at the bottom right.
Yeah.
So, Mick, how long until HighTop launches on the App Store?
So we've been, it's actually in the App Store right now, but it's under private beta. So people can go to hightop.com. They can go download the app. I can just show you right here, hightop.com. Go download the app, and there's a wait list, but we're being pretty generous in letting people through and letting people in. And so people should definitely go check that out. Anyway, let's do a deposit. Let's do a loan against Super OETH B. So this is just kind of the dashboard. The debt limits are still pretty small. Like right now we have 150,000 green debt limit. We just recently increased it. We continue to hit the debt limits. But these are all the assets that you can borrow against, which you can't borrow against these yield-bearing positions anywhere else. And especially when you just get a single loan against it. And that's what's unique about Ripe. And so here you can see the Wrapped Super OETH B, along with other kind of ETH yield-bearing assets, Bitcoin, et cetera, Aerodrome, and then some other assets. I was mentioning like XRP, Cardano, et cetera. Here's our green pool, perfectly balanced, 49, 50%. We've maintained really strong peg throughout, just like you guys maintain a strong peg on your assets. But anyway, let's do a borrow. Let's deposit some Wrapped Super OETH B.
I like this branding on the interface.
Thank you. All right. It's depositing.
So you're depositing Wrapped Super OETH. Do you want me to give a quick overview of the difference there between Super OETH and Wrapped Super OETH?
Sure, go for it.
So Wrapped Super OETH is typically what's integrated on money markets, and that's because the value appreciates relative to ETH. So it's for those of you guys who are more technically inclined, it's a 4626 wrapper, I believe. So it takes that yield generated from staking rewards and then it inputs it directly to the price. So it's going to tick up relative to ETH, whereas with the standard Super OETH, it's rebasing, which means your balance increases. And typically that's harder to configure in smart contracts for lending markets. So you're earning that yield directly to Super OETH's price instead of increasing in balance over time. So if you guys want to use Ripe or any money markets, then you'll need to wrap Super OETH, which you can do pretty easily on Origin's DApp.
Thank you. That's a great explanation. Okay, now I'm going to do a borrow. So green is our, I'm just going to get green instead of S green. S green is kind of savings green where you can earn some of the yield, et cetera. But for now, let's just max borrow. I deposited about $50 worth of Wrapped Super OETH B. So let's do a quick borrow. Oh, it's not loading. We'll just do 30. There we go. So as that's borrowing, I was mentioning the green pool. We keep climbing up. So we're the green USDC pool. We keep climbing up this pool rankings, but it's going to take some time to catch up to the Super OETH B. But we have plenty of liquidity, especially with the current debt limits, so that you can borrow green. You can swap it to USDC, buy more Super OETH B if you want to take a turn on leverage, or you can stake green, as I mentioned, if you want to earn some of the yield. So now coming back to the dashboard. So I was able to borrow 30 green. So yeah, my total deposits are about 50 in Wrapped Super OETH. My borrow is 30. If I want to swap, I can swap. But I did want to show that if you stake your S green, the APYs are pretty good here. So 77% APY on savings green. And there are other things that you can do as well. But that's what a lot of people are doing. They're farming, they're getting Ripe tokens, they're staking the green. But as I said, it's really easy, plenty of liquidity for people to swap out. But yeah, that's Ripe Finance. Just one loan against all your assets. And I love yield-bearing assets because that's just more capital efficiency. That's what people want. They want to be able to earn yield and be able to tap into that to get liquidity to borrow against it. And so yeah, Wrapped Super ETH is live for all the people who hold it. Come and borrow against it, take a turn on leverage, do whatever you need to do. But that is live and working. So do you have any questions or anything that needs clarification?
Yeah, you mentioned the leverage strategy, and we see a lot of DeFi users that pick up Super OETH because they want to leverage it on lending markets. I'm curious if you guys have a looping feature, or maybe if there's a protocol that supports that on top, and also just like if you want to explain how looping works to the audience, that could be good to dive into shortly.
Yeah, we don't yet have kind of a one-click strategy. That's actually one of the things that we're thinking of building into High Top for the AI agent, where the AI agent can kind of make sure that the collateralization stays healthy even while you're sleeping. If there's some volatility, it can kind of unwind it. But yeah, the main idea is simply you deposit Super OETH here, borrow against it. If Super OETH is earning, I don't know, 4%, it sounds like a little over 4%, which is amazing. The borrow rate on Super OETH is 7% right here. And so oftentimes when people do the kind of the leverage strategy, the loop leverage strategy, it's simply because they just think that they can either boost their yield by basically buying more of the Super OETH and depositing into it, or maybe they just think that they can borrow against it and make more in the market in some other way than the 7% borrow rate. Now, the nice thing about with Ripe, we are offsetting the borrow rate with Ripe tokens. And so if you borrow on Ripe, that 7% is actually more favorable than that because we're also giving Ripe tokens to users. And so what we see a lot with USDC is people are earning, the borrow rate on USDC is 5%, offset with some Ripe tokens and Ripe rewards. So a lot of these strategies, though, are generating a bit more than 5%, these yield-bearing strategies. And so that's where it makes a lot of sense to perhaps do a few loops simply because the yield that they're generating on the underlying position is more than the borrow rate. And so that's like SUSD right now, I think is 7%. And some of these others are kind of between 8 and 10% on the USDC side. But yeah, on the ETH side, it's just like, okay, am I bullish and long enough ETH that I think I can make more than the cost to borrow? And I think with Super ETH already at 4%, borrow rate at 7%, offset by some Ripe rewards, yeah, I think the question is just like, how bullish are you on ETH, where you want to buy some more kind of Super OETH, double down on it, and hopefully, yeah, you're able to make more than the borrow rate. So that's kind of how people think about it a little bit.
Makes sense. Thank you for that explanation. I have another question. So earlier on, you were talking a little bit about how Morpho has isolated money markets, and then a lending platform like Aave pretty much only supports blue chip assets because it's kind of pooled together instead of isolated. So how does Ripe be able to onboard all these different assets without the isolation? How do you guys mitigate risk to maybe include some more long tail assets that aren't available on Aave because of the consideration of risk for something like that, how that can like touch different markets because it's kind of pulled together? How do you approach that?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I scrolled down to maybe some of the riskier assets down here below, things like DGen, or just some of these assets that are more volatile, virtual, VVV, et cetera. The way that it works is we take a weighted, so every asset has its own debt terms. So every asset will have its own LTV, its own borrow rate, its own kind of liquidation threshold. And then depending on the collateral that you put in, we will weight it all into a single debt terms. And so if you put in, let's just say you put in a lot of yield-bearing USDC where the borrow rate's lower, the LTV is higher, then that will be weighted more than if you just put a little bit of DGen token, simply because it's weighted based on all of the collateral assets that you're putting in, if that makes sense. And so the nice thing about this, though, is that people can kind of manage their own risk, where they can borrow against their DGen, but then they can offset the risk by putting in their BTC, put in their yield-bearing stables, put in their Super OETH, and still be able to kind of tap into some of these riskier assets. But that's how it works. And we have a liquidation system similar. We've got different mechanisms for liquidation, but one of the things that we have is the stability pool, which is similar to Liquidity. And so this is not a fork, but certainly there are mechanisms that are inspired by that exist in other kind of stable coins or other DeFi lending protocols. And so the stability pool is certainly one. And so when liquidations occur, essentially all these people that are staking their S green or green LP are instant buyers, basically buying liquidated collateral at a discount. They're making money. They're buying these assets at a big discount. The protocol stays solvent because the bad debt is instantly kind of paid off. And there are other mechanisms, auction-based mechanism if there's not enough in the stability pool, et cetera. But yeah, essentially the debt terms are different depending on the collateral asset that you put in, and we just take a weighted average of the debt terms, borrow rate, LTV, etc.
Interesting. Well, I'll have to poke around with Super OETH on Ripe Finance. Did you guys just get that market up today? I know it's pretty new.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Super OETH, we just put it up today. I'm the first deposit. We just put it up this morning. My $50 deposit is the first deposit in there. And so, yeah, we got to get your whole community borrowing against their Super OETH. It's just more convenient than all having to manage multiple loans on various kind of isolated markets. Like, we've got lives to live. We don't need to want to manage 10 different like liquidation thresholds. It's hard enough managing one. So with Ripe, you just have to manage one collateral debt position.
Yeah, it's a super cool product. Can I see the Ripe incentives? You mentioned there's Ripe incentives for borrow rates. How does that work? How does it accrue? Once I open a position, how can I monitor that?
Yeah, so down below, you can see the rewards distribution. And so about 10% of the daily Ripe block rewards are going to borrowers. Most of it is going to the people that are staking Ripe, green. I mentioned the stability pool. We want to make sure there's plenty of ready liquidators in the stability pool. So that's where most of the Ripe rewards are going. And there's about 320 or so Ripe that are being distributed every day to people who are participating in the protocol in these two ways, staking or borrowing. But essentially, as you get claimable Ripe, you'll see it up here at the top. And so the longer you're kind of participating, you'll start to see it. I just deposited, so I'm seeing 0 here. It'll take a little bit of time with a $50 deposit. But you would start seeing it up here at the top.
Got it. Cool. All right, well, we're almost at time, Mick. I want to dive into maybe your roadmap, what you guys are working on or what you're most excited about. Obviously, we'll have to follow along with High Top. Hopefully, we can be part of that launch as well. Sounds super interesting. But what's the team focused on right now? What's next up?
Yeah, absolutely. Let me see if I can actually share High Top really fast with my QuickTime here. Let me share a different screen. Okay, can you see this?
Yep.
So this is High Top. This is my wallet. On the one hand, I've got an AI agent that I can chat with. It's automatically kind of rebalancing my assets to optimize yield. So I can swipe left or I can swipe right and I can see my assets. And let's go to Ethereum just because that's what Super OETH is more of an Ethereum-based kind of yield position. And so I've got Earn Autopilot on, and currently this is where my ETH is. Different kind of yield positions. If I wanted to borrow, it's all powered by Ripe. If I tap borrow right here at the bottom, I can then kind of go through the flow, and this is all powered by Ripe on the back end. So our big focus right now is continuing to make this app as easy and as simple as possible, as accessible as possible, and then just start marketing, distributing it. So one of the things we're working on a lot right now, so this is an iOS app, it's in the App Store, private beta, but we're getting an Android app right now built and all the fiat on-ramps and off-ramps. So right now to deposit, basically you gotta have Coinbase or crypto. A lot of people don't have those things. And so we're integrating with kind of a lot of the, debit card, Apple Pay, ACH, banks all over the world, et cetera. And MoonPay, Bridge, a lot of the different providers on that. But the idea here is that you want to earn yield. Here's where you can do it. Earn Autopilot will automatically be helping you get the best yield. You can borrow against your assets. You can buy assets. The buy is not that unique because that's like what exchanges offer. But of course, it's table stakes. You got to be able to buy some assets. And so you can buy assets, you can earn yield, and you can borrow. And we think that the mass market, the retail audience, again, is not going to want to have multiple debt positions, multiple loans for their assets. They think if this is their portfolio, they want to be able to just get one loan against their entire portfolio. And so all of the borrow is powered by Ripe protocol. But this is kind of where we're focused on just taking DeFi to everybody, make it super easy, the ability to earn yield, the ability to get credit, borrow against those assets, and of course, the ability to invest. We're ready for tokenized stocks. We're ready for tokenized private credit and money market funds. And some of these are already materializing, but I'm especially excited about tokenized stocks. I think this app can be the place that people all over the world can buy NVIDIA, can buy, Amazon stock, app, whatever stock that they want to buy. And then eventually OpenAI stock. Obviously, the stuff that Robinhood is doing is exciting. But this is really our focus. And we think this is what's going to allow Ripe Protocol to grow, and ultimately just bring a lot of value to a lot of people. They don't have to think about MetaMask and private keys and gas or any of this stuff. It's all right here. It's all non-custodial, but it's simple from an app that you can download from the App Store.
Super cool stuff. And I saw Yo Protocol was integrated on there. They've been on a tear lately. I think they just recently crossed $3 billion of TVL. And that makes Origin integrated by proxy because Yo is integrated with Origin Ether. So really cool to see the composability. Seeing some really strong yields and some really blue chip apps already integrated, Fluid, Morpho, all the household names. So super cool to see that. And we'll have to circle back, talk more once High Top does its full launch. Maybe you can hop back on the stream and we can talk about it again.
Absolutely. And we're excited to integrate, your assets, your products. We'll start with Super OETH because I think that's the only one you guys have on Base right now, right? So all of our deployments are on Base, but as you guys bring more assets to Base, we're excited to partner with you guys and hopefully we can be super collaborative and have a long-term partnership. We appreciate you guys.
Yeah, absolutely. Looking forward to it. Well, Mick, thank you so much for joining. We're at time now, so we're going to call it here. But thank you all in the audience for tuning in to this week's Alpha Access live stream. Just a quick reminder, we have our community call on Monday. You can join in on Discord or on Twitter, and you can hear from the whole team. So we'll give product updates, do another OGN update, that whole thing. So join in there Monday at noon Eastern time. Mick, thank you so much for joining. Thought it was a great conversation, and I'm looking forward to trying out Ripe Finance as well as following along with the High Top launch. It sounds like you're doing some really interesting stuff, so I'll definitely be a user.
Thanks so much, Ryan. Thanks for having me.
Yep.